The 2019 Bassmaster Elite Series season's right here. It's on the precipice, and with that, that means Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing is back. In this episode, we're going to cover the strategy involved, the competitors, the venues that we are going to, as well as some of the prizes in store. Who better to start us off than the guy who's been around before fantasy fishing was there, and that's Mr. Tommy Sanders. Tommy,
I've been around since before air was here, so, hey, look, it's me who needs help. Can I explain? Fantasy football's over. I could have won one of the leagues I was playing in, except a particular NFL running back turned out to be extremely naughty, actually worse than that. The other league, I made the championship, I played in the finals, but I was beaten. While it's fun to make the finals, I was beaten by Mark Zona. So that's pain. I need a new slate. I need a rebirth in fantasy. Lay it on me. What's happening in fantasy fishing?
Well, it's a new year, so now you can get your revenge if you get in maybe a pool there with Zona.
Yeah.
Be able to outsmart him at his own game, at the fishing game. Hey, football, he spends too much time watching football.
Exactly.
But all you do is bass fish and pay attention to that. So fantasy fishing this year, a little bit different. 75 anglers, but it's going to make the buckets much cleaner. 5 buckets still. Bucket A through E are your 5 buckets. This year, 15 in each bucket, no matter what. So the first event, we're going to start off with buckets alphabetically ordered. That's the best way to arrange it in the first event of the season. There's no favorites. It's a brand new season. We don't know who's going to lead Angler of the Year until then.
But we'll know more with each passing event, right? We'll have a better idea of the field top to bottom, right?
Every single event will show us who's leading the Angler of the Year, who's maybe right there around the Classic Cut, and it'll be the same thing, 15, 30, 45. So those guys in bucket C this year, half of them will be in the Classic Cut, half won't. So you'll have to be able, that'll be the bucket where people might risk it more. And that's what I was going to lead into, Tommy. We've got strategy involved. I was talking about it, off the camera, that guys are getting checks no matter what this year. Right. So maybe they're apt to risk it a little bit more out on the water to try to win the final.
Is that good for you as a player, or is that bad for you as a player?
You better know your anglers that you're picking, whether they're, their personality types, stay up on it. There's going to be a lot of avenues to be able to look at that. You're going to have fantasy fishing pundit articles. I write them, and then there's three other writers, Pete Robbins, Coy Greathouse, Thomas Allen. We all write fantasy fishing stories.
It's all good too.
And then there's also all those new columns, the Meet the Elites, and then their own personal columns. Corey Johnston put one up on the website talking about
there's a flood of information about all these new players, and it's not going to stop. It's just going to keep flowing.
If you don't know this new angler style, you will get to know them. There's plenty of info out on the website about them, but we have a lot of the iconic venues. We've got the St. Johns River, we've got Guntersville, we've got the 2 New York venues, we've got some wild cards in there. So if you were looking at it, you can almost go chalk in a couple of these things with people that you may know, familiar with. What are a couple
of outliers, though, right?
Yeah, give me a couple of your, maybe a pick or two that is under the radar, or a lake or two that really might throw a wrench in this whole deal.
Okay. Me give you a pick?
Yes. I want your insight before I write the deal. I mean, so
I'll work on it and get it to you later.
Yeah, we get it to you. But in all honesty, Winyah Bay, Fort Gibson Lake, those are the 2 places we have the least amount of info. We have an elite on both of those, but both of those, we haven't been back since.
One was 10 years ago, and one was, like you say, a one-time only. They're both one-time only deals.
Yes, and then we have a Florida event, St. Johns River. From the reports, all those hurricanes that came through, not as much grass. So that could be a totally different animal, even though we have a lot of history on that thing. So basically, hey, since he's going to hold all of his cards in his pocket, I'm going to hold all mine.
Okay.
I'll get into it maybe with Mike Sukon and Pete Robbins later on in the show, not with Tommy. But prizes-wise.
Oh, prizes-wise. Yeah, you look at the prize.
It's a free game. You sign up, you can create an account, free game, but a lot of prizes in store. Both winners the past years have won a lot of different prizes. I believe boats in the past.
They are substantial. They are substantial. You can keep checking Bassmaster.com or BassmasterFantasy.com for the updates on that and more information as we go along. Again, I want to ask you, now you can join a group. If you like playing with a 12-person group, just like you do your football, you can do that. Or you can lone wolf it against the whole world, I guess, if you want to, right?
There are a lot of different companies, organizations that will create a group, get their fans involved, and offer up prizes weekly. Bassmaster has their gift card prizes and other things in store from our great partners. But then also, you can get into some maybe like friendly battles. You probably are going to get in a pool with Mark Zona for bragging rights.
Absolutely, yeah.
I created a group last year called Beat Ronnie Moore, and there was plenty of people.
I like the sound of that.
There was plenty of people who beat Ronnie Moore. Make sure you log on BassmasterFantasy.com, sign up. It's free. Make sure you set your events. We've got a couple different back-to-backs this year, so make sure you stay up on the website. Join the Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing Facebook page. It's a closed group where it's just every fantasy fishing nut in the world gets in there, and we get to talk about Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing. So thank you for joining us, Tommy.
Sorry I was no help on the picks.
No, hey, that's fine.
You can write about that later.
I'm going to keep my cards in my pocket as well.
Right.
I'm going to hop over with Mike Sukon, and we're going to go through the buckets, and we're going to kind of break down the first event or two, and then some of his maybe thoughts, because he is the mad scientist that sits over here in the garage with me during Bass Live.
The Such on the way.
So now it's time to jump over in front of the monitor and look at the playing field. Such, we brought Mike Sukon in. He's the
Ronnie, we're back. We're back. Come on, let's go.
The gang's back together.
Ready for the season.
Bass Live commentator, I guess my I don't know, comrade over in the garage.
Yeah, the garage mates.
So we're looking
Fantasy.
We're looking at fantasy fishing, and we've got a lot of new anglers this year, people that might not be familiar with, but we've got the same venues that we've been to, some maybe historical perspective to know how maybe they'll play out. And as we look at Bucket A, they're all laid out, A through Z, based on the buckets. It's alphabetical, so the top bucket's going to be the
75 guys, 15 each right now.
15 in each bucket.
A little less to pick.
So Bucket A, you've got some big names. I mean, who are you looking at when you're sitting here? We've got former elite champions, we've got some seasoned pros, we've got some FLW guys who came over, we've got some rookies from the Opens. It is every bucket, even if they're alphabetical, these guys have the wrong last names because they're in a tough bucket as well.
There's a lot of good guys in here. Look at Drew Benton. Last time we were here, he's 4th place. You get the guys coming over who fish down there well. I mean, it's a tough one. You have a winner. Rick Clun, who won the last time we were here. Keith Combs.
Keith Combs, Drew Cook. That's another one. John Cruz.
Drew Cook's from
there's
this
quite a
bucket
few.
is pretty stiff, stout.
And when I go about fantasy fishing, it is all about risk and reward. Do you pick the guys that have a high percentage because a lot of fantasy fishing people are picking them? Do you pick a guy that has low percentage? I'm probably going to go chalk. And for folks who don't know chalk, I'm probably going to go with maybe a favorite or two. Drew Benton's my pick in Bucket A. He's a great sight fisherman. He's from Florida. If it ends up not being sight fishing, he could still do well. And that's when we're going over to Bucket B. I'm picking someone that might not be picked by a bunch of people. Greg DePalma, someone from New Jersey. I don't expect him to get picked a bunch just for where he's regionally located, he's a rookie on the Elite Series. But if you think about it, I know all the places he's fished, how tough tournaments, grass tournaments, clear lakes. And so there's some guys down here that, you think about a Matt Herron, someone who's been here probably almost every time we've been here.
I would say he may be one of my picks. I don't know yet. I haven't
You're not
run it down yet,
You're not
no.
even going to give me your cards? Come on. But you got Seth Fighter, someone who's expected to
Huddle down there. He may be geared up, ready to open the season strong.
Got a lot of flippers in this group as well. You've got the Oklahoma and Arkansas, Harvey Horn. You've got Dale Hightower. And this, as we go to Bucket C, you've got a lot of the same deal.
Same thing, yeah.
You got new guys. Someone might not know a Mike Huff. He's a rookie. He's from Kentucky. Why would I pick him? He's fished the St. John's in college events. Don't know that unless you've paid really close attention.
Exactly.
So there's different guys. Carl Jacobson's back on the Elite Series. Steve Kennedy's going to be a highly picked angler this year.
Krieger's living down there.
You've got a Florida angler. You've got a flipper in Robbie Latuso. Shane LeHue. He knocked, if you paid attention to the FLW Tour, he's notched top 12s and top 10s in Florida before.
And I see you picked Brandon Lester.
He's another one of those guys I expect to get picked, but that goes against my strategy of picking guys that are often picked. But this first one, I got to get my feet underneath me, so I've got to go with some guys.
Get that lead, Ronnie. Take that early season lead.
I got to at least, like you said, I can't have anybody in the bottom 30. So, hey, I appreciate you, even though you wouldn't divulge a pick. I'm the only one being transparent.
Hey, if I'm going to beat Ronnie Moore, I can't tell you right now.
You can't do that. Well, I appreciate it. We're going to actually talk to Pete Robbins in just a second. He's a fantasy fishing pundit.
I got to read his column.
He will tell me who his picks are at least.
Well, he's got them down.
I've got to go to him now. Tommy Sanders says no to me. You say no to me. Pete Robbins will tell me his picks. So that'll be good insight from Pete Robbins, one of the fantasy fishing pundits. And as promised, we can't end a fantasy fishing preview show for the 2019 Elite Series without talking to one of the, the nerdiest fantasy fishing pundit of them all. I'm up there with diving into the numbers, but the man, Pete Robbins. Thanks for joining us, Pete. Appreciate you taking the time to preview the season with us. Maybe I can get a little bit of insight from you so I can beat you this year, but I appreciate you joining us.
I'm thrilled to be here, Ronnie. After you called me a nerd, I think I need to put on my nerd glasses so you can see me in full effect, and maybe it'll help me crunch the numbers a little bit.
To start it off here, you're going to need a couple guys that you trust, that have competed on the Elite Series, and then some guys